Sophie Cunningham, blink twice if everything's not okay. Blink twice if it's not safe, Sophie. We got you, girl. We got you, girl. Sophie Cunningham sent out by Amber Cox and the Indiana Fever to do some damage control because she was a bit too honest.
Watch this final sequence closely before the ball even leaves her hands. This is the possession that set the internet on fire, and depending on how you read it, it either reveals a coaching staff completely out of sync with its own roster, or it reveals exactly what this team looks like when the players trust their instincts over the whiteboard. Either way, what you are about to see demands an honest conversation about the power dynamic inside the Indiana Fever organization. The Indiana Fever are clinging to life in the fourth quarter. Coach Stephanie White calls a timeout. She diagrams a controlled possession, methodical, clock-conscious, designed to force a switch and attack the post. On paper, it is a reasonable call. On the floor, based on what we are about to watch, you have to ask whether it was the right one.
In this next game, being that she did their work, went out and backtracked for them as she was clearly forced. She probably will not be facing any repercussions, but sorry, Sophie. Lexi Hall already came out and let it be known that wasn't a play. Everybody already knows. You're on camera saying it to Caitlin. You are on camera in the locker room looking at Caitlin like we already know. We know, but hey, it's cool.
Before the final sequence, look at this earlier possession. Clark pushes tempo up the right sideline instead of waiting for the prescribed stagger screens. Cunningham reads the transition mismatch immediately. The pass finds her in the shooting pocket off a backdoor cut. Clean, efficient, fast. Now watch the sideline. The coaching staff does not celebrate the quick strike. No visible reaction, no acknowledgement. And I want to be clear, I cannot tell you with certainty what Stephanie White is thinking in that moment. But I can tell you what it looks like, and it looks like a staff that is more committed to the architecture of its system than to the results its players produce outside of it. That is worth noting. As the clock bleeds into the final minute, the Fever find themselves down by a single possession. White calls the timeout. She grabs the whiteboard. The design is for a slow, deliberate half-court set. Run the clock, force the switch, dump it into the post. Now here is where interpretation becomes important, because what I am about to describe is my reading of what I see, not confirmed information from inside the locker room. Watch the huddle. The players are listening. But there is a moment, a brief, almost invisible exchange of eye contact between Clark and Cunningham that I believe communicates something. Whether it is agreement, hesitation, or something else entirely, I cannot say definitively. What I can say is that what happens next does not look like the play that was drawn up.
Or, with their image or anything like that, but they've never gone out to get in the front line and protect Caitlin Clark. They sat there. They are currently sitting there and watching an entire smear campaign go on Caitlin Clark. And there is someone saying that they are getting the information directly from the organization. Amber Cox has been silent about it. Stephanie White has been silent about it. Lynn Dunn has been silent about it. Now, it's one thing to be quiet if your ass is always quiet, but we know that the Indiana Fever...
The projection in that statement is extraordinary. The fans are not taking Caitlin Clark for granted. The fans are tracking every possession she is removed from. They are documenting every uncalled foul. They are analyzing every substitution pattern that leaves her on the bench during critical stretches. The fans know precisely what they have, which is exactly why they are frustrated. The only party in this situation who has operationally treated Caitlin Clark as expendable is the coaching staff itself. The evidence is tactical and measurable. She is regularly moved off the ball in a half-court system that neutralizes her most dangerous attributes. She was benched for 7 consecutive minutes last night while the opposing team erased a 17-point lead. The play that won the game was drawn up by an assistant coach, not the head coach, suggesting the offensive system White runs does not have a designed action for Clark's most lethal skill set. The post-game narrative was immediately redirected away from her. White then added that it has been a rough go over the last 18 to 24 months for Clark, and that she is finding her way and working to grow that confidence back.
On social media, Because they hear us, guys. What about Stephanie White's answer at the pregame presser for last game, where she addressed Caitlin Clark fans calling out the Indiana Fever for this boring style of play and the fact that she has come over here and completely ruined the product? The entertainment value is gone. What did Stephanie White say? Oh, well, it's not my job to be entertaining. I'm just here to win ball games and answer to the front office. You know why she said that? Because she hears us. They try to sit there and act like they don't.
The team breaks the huddle. The defense sets up to counter exactly what White diagrammed. They have scouted it. They are ready for it. The first screen is set. The second screen arrives. The timing is slightly off, and then the script breaks entirely. Cunningham abandons her assigned corner spot and drifts higher up the wing. Clark reads it immediately. Instead of waiting for the designated handoff, she takes one hard dribble left. The defender bites, and the passing lane opens for a fraction of a second. The ball leaves her hands in a blur. Cunningham catches it in her shooting pocket, feet perfectly set, elevation clean, and the net snaps. Now, did they go rogue? Or did they execute a practiced read and react adjustment that falls within the system's rules? That is the question at the center of everything that followed. My honest read, watching this possession multiple times, is that this was not the play White drew up. The positioning is wrong, the timing deviates. The result, however, is undeniable. And here is why that matters beyond the scoreboard. If the players improvised and it worked, that is not just a basketball story, that is an organizational story. It raises a legitimate question about whether the rigid system White enforces is actually the ceiling of this team, or whether this roster has a higher ceiling that the system is suppressing.
You guys have addressed it all, except for when it comes to the smear campaign that has been launched full force on Caitlin Clark. Except when it comes to Caitlin Clark fans being called racist. You guys address everything else. You're quick to pull damage control, just like you did right here with Sophie Cunningham. We know you guys placed the call to do damage control. That quickly, within 24 hours, damage control. It's been over a week. You guys have said nothing about the Caitlin Clark smear campaign that's going on. And Dan Dockich says he's getting the information directly from you guys. No one's going to say that's not true. No one's going to say, no, we love Caitlin. That's not how we feel. No one's going to say anything, huh? Is it because he's actually telling the truth, which I believe?
Then came the aftermath. And this is where I want to be precise about what we know versus what we are inferring. Shortly after the game, Cunningham posted on social media indicating that the shot was exactly what the coach drew up. Now, that could mean several things. It could be completely true. Maybe there was a wrinkle in the play design that gave her freedom to relocate, and what looked like improvisation was actually built in. It could be a player choosing to publicly protect team chemistry. Or, and this is the interpretation that a lot of people in the basketball community landed on, it could reflect organizational pressure to manage the optics of a play that exposed a gap between the system and the player's instincts. I do not know which of those is true. None of us outside that locker room do. But the speed of the public messaging, combined with the organization's consistent silence on other issues affecting this team, does raise a question worth asking. Who does the Indiana Fever front office mobilize for, and how fast? Because we have documented on this channel instance after instance of the organization declining to publicly defend Caitlin Clark during periods of sustained criticism. Yet, when a social media post threatens to complicate the coaching staff's narrative, the response is immediate and coordinated. That contrast is real. That contrast is documented. And that contrast tells you something about where the organizational priorities actually sit. The deeper story here is not whether Cunningham and Clark went rogue. The deeper story is what it means if they did, and why that possibility is so threatening to the people running this franchise. If the players demonstrate they can win by trusting their own basketball intelligence, the power dynamic inside that building shifts, the system becomes negotiable, and a coaching staff that has staked its entire identity on structure and control cannot afford that conversation to gain traction. So the questions going forward are legitimate and serious. Will Stephanie White adapt, incorporate more freedom into the offense, lean into what her best players do naturally, and accept that elite basketball instincts sometimes outperform design sets? Or will she tighten the structure further, quietly punish the improvisation through reduced minutes, and force this roster back into a system that the box score is increasingly indicting? We are going to find out very soon, because the next time the Fever step onto the floor, every decision Stephanie White makes will be viewed through the lens of this sequence, and if Cunningham's minutes drop without explanation, you will have your answer. Get in the comments. Do you think this was genuine improvisation, or a designed wrinkle the coaching staff gets credit for? And do you believe the post-game messaging was organic or managed? Let me know. Hit subscribe. I will see you next one.